In a glittering Manhattan hotel where power dines on silence, a black maid's phone rings and one word in Dutch stops a billionaire in his tracks. What follows isn't luck, it's revelation. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room speaks a language that can rewrite the entire story. Zoe Johnson had spent 6 years polishing marble floors that reflected everyone but her. At the Grand Plaza Hotel, the crown jewel of Manhattan's skyline, she was invisible by design. Guests floated past in designer suits, voices trailing like perfume. Managers barked orders that smelled of disinfectant and entitlement. Yet beneath that uniform of navy blue and white latex gloves lived a woman fluent in 6 languages, holder of a Georgetown degree in linguistics, and a dream she refused to bury. The day everything changed began like any other. The smell of lemon wax, the hum of lobby jazz, the faint hiss of an espresso machine behind polished brass counters. Then her phone buzzed. For 6 years, Zoe had obeyed Manager Richards's first rule: no personal calls on shift, ever. But when she glanced at the screen and saw the +31 country code, her breath caught.
Amsterdam.
The university. Maybe, finally, the scholarship she'd applied for half a dozen times. She ducked behind a marble column, her mop handles still dripping. "Zoe Johnson," she whispered. The voice that answered spoke in perfect Dutch, Professor Van Ton from the University of Amsterdam. Without thinking, Zoe switched languages, her pronunciation crisp, melodic. They discussed missing paperwork, scholarship updates, hope wrapped inside consonants and vowels. And then silence. A silence that didn't belong to her or the professor, it belonged to the lobby. When she looked up, billionaire hotel owner Richard Coleman was standing 10 feet away, mid-stride, eyes narrowed in curiosity. Beside him, Manager Richards's expression tightened like plastic.
Ik bel je later, Zoe stammert, hanging up.
"Johnson," Richards hissed my office. The walk downstairs felt like exile. Colleagues stared, some pitying, others satisfied. In the basement office's chemical chill, Richards slammed the door. No phones during work hours. And what language was that? French. Dutch, Zoe said quietly. "I don't care if it was Martian. You embarrassed this hotel in front of the owner. You're lucky I don't fire you. You'll spend the next 3 months cleaning the convention center bathrooms. Maybe you can practice your foreign tongues there." Zoe swallowed the burn in her throat. She wanted to say that the receptionists chatted all day, that she'd done nothing wrong, but she'd learned the cost of answering back. That night, in her shared apartment, she stared at the frame around her degree. Dust gathered on the glass like time itself. When morning came, she tied her hair, lifted her cleaning cart, and promised herself one thing: she would not let humiliation decide her story. The call from Human Resources came mid-shift. "Zoe Johnson, please report to HR immediately." HR was on the top floor, executive territory. The elevator ride felt like ascending into another universe. Suits, cologne, soft laughter over mergers. When the doors opened, the HR director greeted her with a strange calm. "Mr. Coleman has requested a meeting." Inside his office, a suite larger than her apartment, sunlight struck glass walls and chrome furniture. Coleman looked up from a file. "Dutch, French, Italian, and Mandarin, correct?" Zoe blinked. "I asked HR for your resume," he said. "Georgetown honors in linguistics. 6 languages. And yet, you've been cleaning my hotel for 6 years. Why?" "I applied for 47 positions," she answered. "Everyone ignored or denied by Manager Richards or Director Whitmore." Coleman scribbled the names. Curious. "Whitmore constantly complains we lack multilingual staff." He leaned back. "Tomorrow, an international trade conference begins here. I need someone fluent in Dutch and Chinese who understands cultural nuance. I'm offering you the temporary role of International Relations Coordinator. $5,000 a week. Starting today." For a heartbeat, Zoe forgot to breathe. Why me? She whispered. Because I heard you speak Dutch like a native, Coleman said. And because I suspect something's very wrong in this hotel. When Zoe stepped into the elevator again, the badge around her neck gleamed with a new title. As the doors opened onto the executive corridor, she nearly collided with Manager Richards. Johnson, what are you doing up here without a uniform? Zoe held up the badge. International Relations Coordinator. Mr. Coleman's direct appointment. Richards's face drained of color.
Impossible.
You don't have the Georgetown degree. Fluent in 6 languages, Zoe said evenly. My resume's been in HR for 6 years. She walked away, leaving Richards speechless among the suits. In HR, another ally waited, a young analyst named Zoe Williams, who whispered, I saw your file when I joined. I never understood why someone like you was in housekeeping. Whitmore blocks every internal transfer, but now you're his worst nightmare. That afternoon, while preparing the conference materials, Zoe spotted a translation error in the Mandarin welcome packets, small words that, in business etiquette, meant the difference between respect and insult. She rewrote the text carefully, her pen gliding like quiet rebellion. Coleman appeared in the doorway. How did you catch that? The translator used phrases that imply ownership, she explained. In Chinese business culture, that's offensive. He nodded slowly. Whitmore assured me these were professional translators. Expensive ones. He hired someone without credentials, Zoe said. By nightfall, Zoe's corrections saved the hotel from what could have been a diplomatic disaster. But she sensed deeper rot beneath the surface. The next morning, the conference hall glittered with delegates. Zoe moved through the crowd seamlessly, translating, mediating, winning respect with every word. The same executives who once passed her without notice now listened intently. Then Whitmore approached. Miss Johnson, he said, his smile brittle. Impressive work. Thank you. Though I imagine Mandarin proficiency would have saved the company $50,000 on those translations. He blinked. That's a misunderstanding. I kept receipts, she said softly. Email confirmations, too. He froze. He didn't yet realize she had already found the smoking gun, a translation contract awarded to his niece, unqualified and overpriced. As the days unfolded, whispers spread through the corridors. The new coordinator, the Maid, spoke to Billionaires like an equal. Guests requested her by name. Coleman watched everything. On the 3rd day, a Dutch delegate recognized her. Are you Zoe Johnson, author of the paper on linguistic variation in corporate communication? Zoe flushed. Yes. I cited your work last year, the man exclaimed. Brilliant insight. Across the hall, Whitmore's smile thinned. He sensed control slipping. That night, Zoe and HR analyst Williams sat over takeout containers, piecing together years of rejection emails, payroll records, and translation invoices. What they found painted a pattern too deliberate to ignore. Non-white candidates blocked, family contracts inflated, qualified employees silenced. If we show this to Coleman, it could blow everything open, Williams said. Zoe hesitated. Or it could cost me everything again.
But something in her had changed.
After years of mopping floors, fear no longer dictated her choices. We show him. Morning came with storm-colored skies. As Zoe entered the elevator, Whitmore and Richards stepped in behind her. The mirrored walls caught their reflections, hers steady, theirs brittle. Whitmore leaned close. Enjoy the attention while it lasts. People like you burn out fast. She said nothing, but when she stepped into her office, she pressed record on a small device hidden in her blazer pocket. By noon, she had the final piece, proof that Whitmore's niece's certification was fake. That's where I'll pause this first half of the story, the moment before the storm breaks. When Zoe marched into Coleman's office, the sky above Manhattan cracked with thunder, as if the city itself understood that truth was about to break open. Coleman looked up from his laptop, startled by the urgency in her stride. "Zoe." "Mr. Coleman," she said, laying the folder on his desk. "Whitmore's niece has been replacing my corrected translations with her own. Every document she's touched is wrong, and I have proof." She turned the folder toward him. Invoices, certifications, emails, side payments. All of it neatly arranged. Coleman flipped page after page, his jaw tightening. "You're sure about this?" "I confirmed with Peking University," Zoe said. "They never issued the certification she claims to have." At that moment, the HR analyst, Williams, hurried in with a separate file. "Mr. Coleman, there's more. Hiring records for the last 5 years, patterns of discrimination, rejections of qualified non-white candidates, inflated contracts to family members. It's systemic." The air in the office grew heavy. Coleman rubbed his temple, then looked up with eyes suddenly sharper. "This stops now. Both of you stay close. We're going to end this properly." The door burst open. Whitmore, flushed and panting. "Richard, the Dutch delegation is waiting for signatures. Johnson's been." "Quiet," Coleman said, his voice like steel. "Sit down." Whitmore blinked, confused. "What's going on?" Coleman placed the folder between them.
$52 invoices.
Fake credentials, nepotism, and a trail of discrimination that's cost this company millions. Whitmore's smile faltered. "That's absurd." Zoe pressed play on the recorder hidden in her blazer. Whitmore's voice filled the room. "Enjoy the attention while it lasts. People like you burn out fast." Silence followed, sharp, unbearable. Coleman's expression hardened. "You're done, Thomas. There's a board meeting in 30 minutes. Bring your resignation, or I'll bring security." Whitmore paled. "Richard, you can't." "I already did." 2 hours later, the Grand Plaza's executive auditorium filled to the walls. Managers, assistants, and cleaning staff crowded together, murmurs rippling through the air. At the front, Coleman stood beside Zoe. Behind them, a screen displayed charts, numbers, and names that told a story no one wanted to face. "Ladies and gentlemen," Coleman began, "today we confront a failure, not of profits, but of principle. For years, certain managers created invisible walls inside this hotel, walls that buried qualified talent under uniforms and titles meant to keep them small. One of those talents stands beside me today." He gestured to Zoe. Whispers turned to gasps. "Miss Johnson saved this hotel from an international embarrassment," he continued. "She uncovered fraud, corrected mistranslations, and revealed prejudice that rotted our core. Effective immediately, Thomas Whitmore is terminated for cause. Manager Richards is suspended pending full investigation. And we are launching an independent audit across all our properties." The room froze, then erupted into scattered applause, hesitant at first, then rising like a wave. In the back, cleaning staff wiped their eyes. Coleman waited for silence. Finally, "It gives me great pride to announce that Dr. Zoe Johnson, yes, doctor, is our new director of global communications." The applause became thunder. Zoe's heart raced. The lights seemed to shimmer. She looked across the crowd and saw Whitmore escorted out, eyes full of venom and disbelief. That night, Zoe sat alone in her new glass-walled office. The city pulsed beneath her window, rain streaking the lights into ribbons of gold. She dialed her mother's number. "Mom," she whispered when the line connected. "I did it." Tears fell, unashamed. For once they weren't from exhaustion. But this wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. 6 months later, the world outside the Grand Plaza had changed. News outlets still ran features on the Maid who spoke Dutch and changed corporate America. Zoe's new initiative, the Invisible Talents Program, was rewriting hiring practices across the hospitality industry. From her 32nd floor office, she reviewed a presentation with Williams, now her executive assistant. We've identified 147 employees across our chain with degrees in business, tech, or languages. 83% are people of color who are stuck in service roles. Coleman entered, clapping softly. Zoe, these numbers are extraordinary. She smiled. It's not just numbers, Richard. It's dignity. He nodded. Prepare the conference room. The press is here. If you're still watching, this is where the story lifts off, where the quiet girl with a mop steps into the spotlight of the entire world. Before we get there, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes hard work still matters. You're about to see why it truly does. The camera lights glared white across the Manhattan ballroom. Rows of reporters and employees filled the space. On stage, a simple podium bore the hotel's insignia. Behind it, a live-stream banner blinked. Hospitality for Humanity, a global address. Zoe adjusted the microphone, her heart drumming against the silence. 6 months ago, she began, I was scrubbing floors outside this very room. I spoke 6 languages, but no one heard me. Today, I speak for every worker who's been told their place ends at the service door. The crowd hushed. Cameras clicked. My mother once said, no matter how invisible they make you, your worth isn't theirs to define. She never lived to see this moment, but I carry her voice in every syllable I speak. She paused, scanning the room. We talk about luxury, about excellence, but true excellence starts with equality. For decades, talent has been hidden behind uniforms. People of brilliance polishing other people's success. That ends here. Coleman watched from the front row, pride softening his usually measured expression. Zoe continued, voice trembling yet steady. Our Invisible Talents program proved something powerful. When you lift the unseen, you lift the entire company. In 6 months, profits rose 40%, not because of strategy, but because people were finally seen. A murmur of approval rippled through the audience. So today, we're not just changing policy, we're changing culture. Every employee in our global chain will have the right to professional development, mentorship, and a seat at the table. Because brilliance doesn't wear a color or a title, it wears perseverance. The applause grew louder, spilling into cheers. Flashbulbs flickered like fireworks. The live stream spread across social media. Within hours, clips of her speech reached millions. The comment sections flooded with stories from janitors, clerks, drivers, all writing, I felt that. That night, a news anchor closed her segment with a single line. The woman who once cleaned luxury became its conscience. Weeks later, Zoe walked through the same lobby where it had all begun. The marble still gleamed, but something fundamental had shifted. The staff smiled openly. Guests greeted them by name, and the silence that once made her small now felt full of possibility. A bellhop approached her shyly. Dr. Johnson? My sister wanted me to tell you she applied for the new scholarship you started. Zoe grinned. Tell her good luck. Or better yet, tell her to expect it. Because that scholarship, the Johnson Foundation for Hidden Talent, was already changing futures. As she stepped outside, the evening sun bathed the city in amber light. A breeze tugged at her coat, whispering like memory. She looked back once more at the tall glass doors and thought of that first forbidden phone call, the one that had begun it all. If you're hearing this part of the story right now, you already know what Zoe learned the hard way. One moment can rewrite a lifetime. And sometimes, the language that changes the world isn't spoken aloud, it's lived. So if her story moved you, don't just watch, share it. Subscribe for more true stories of quiet courage and transformation. Because somewhere, another Zoe is answering a call that could change everything. The camera fades on Zoe walking into the golden Manhattan dusk, her reflection blending with the skyline. Proof that the invisible can rise, that dignity can sound like Dutch on a maid's phone, and that a single voice, when finally heard, can echo across the world.